The Young and the Restless continues to prove that Genoa City is a battlefield where legacies, ambition, and loyalty collide, and the latest revelations suggest that Amanda Sinclair's unexpected return is far more than a casual visit. Fans may recall that Amanda was last seen in the south of France, her career taking her far from the everyday chaos of Wisconsin, but the announcement of her reappearance confirms that her journey back to the Midwest is tied to a very specific purpose. She is not simply revisiting old connections, she is responding to a call for help from someone who believes her legal brilliance and personal tenacity are the keys to his survival. That someone is Kane Ashby, a man whose re-emergence on the Genoa City canvas has already sparked more than its share of intrigue and controversy. Kane has always walked the line between underdog and opportunist, but this time his ambitions are laid bare. He is attempting a corporate takeover of staggering proportions, a plan that, if successful, would disrupt the long-standing family empires that have defined the city's power structure for generations. Yet as with any plan hatched in Genoa City, nothing goes smoothly. Before Kane can even fully deploy his strategy, he finds himself blindsided by a ruthless counterattack from Victor Newman, the patriarch of the Newman dynasty and a man whose very name is synonymous with dominance. Victor has seen countless challengers rise and fall, and while Kane may believe himself prepared for the legendary businessman, Victor's ability to destabilize an enemy before they even take the field remains unparalleled. The proof lies in Adam Newman's involvement. Adam, Victor's most complicated son, has once again chosen loyalty to his father over his own instincts, agreeing to follow Victor's directive and weaponize the media against their new rival. The result is a calculated smear campaign designed to strike at the very foundation of Kane's reputation. With Newman media fully mobilized, they expose a glossy cover image of Kane under the guise of Aristotle Dumas, framing him as nothing more than a self-indulgent pretender. The attack does not simply target his business credentials, it tears into his personal life, undermining his identity and threatening to derail the legitimacy of his carefully constructed empire. The scandal shakes Kane to his core, forcing him to confront not only the formidable power of Victor and Adam but also the vulnerability of standing alone in a city where alliances can make or break a man overnight. This is where Amanda Sinclair comes in. Kane understands, perhaps more than ever, that he cannot afford to wage this war without allies, and Amanda represents more than just legal counsel. She is a strategist, a confidant, and a voice of reason in the chaos. Kane's decision to call her back from Europe underscores how desperate he has become. The man who once prided himself on being a self-made fighter is now admitting that the scope of his plan is larger than his capacity to handle alone. Amanda's presence offers him a lifeline, not just for the courtroom battles he expects to face but for the personal turmoil that is consuming him as Newman Media continues to drag his name through the mud. Their partnership is poised to reignite unresolved tension, professional and personal, that lingers from their earlier interactions, hinting at a deeper entanglement that could complicate matters further. Still, Kane knows better than anyone that one ally is not enough. Genoa City is a chessboard where even the most skilled player cannot maneuver without reliable pieces around him, and Kane has begun assembling what he calls his team, a group of individuals positioned to lend strength, legitimacy, and tactical support. Among them is Holden Novak, a man Kane trusts implicitly, one of the few figures in town whose loyalty is unquestioned. Holden's expertise in property management and his knack for navigating the intricacies of real estate development make him the perfect choice to oversee the vast portfolio recently acquired by Arabesque, the mysterious holding Kane has tied himself to. With Holden at his side, Kane believes he can transform raw acquisitions into concrete power, leveraging properties into influence, and influence into dominance. Yet even with Amanda and Holden, Kane's uphill battle is daunting. Victor Newman's reach extends beyond mere business, it touches every corner of Genoa City life, from law enforcement to politics, from family loyalties to the media. Adam's ruthless compliance with Victor's orders ensures that Kane's every move will be scrutinized and sabotaged. And Kane himself carries the weight of his past mistakes, the scandals, betrayals, and lies that left him exiled from the city for 6 long years. His return was already met with skepticism. Now, under the spotlight of Newman Media's smear campaign, his credibility is in freefall. For Kane, the challenge is no longer just about achieving a corporate takeover, it is about survival, about reclaiming a place in a city that has branded him as an outsider. The return of Amanda raises equally complex questions. She is no stranger to Genoa City's webs of deceit and power struggles, but aligning herself with Kane puts her at direct odds with the Newman family, a risk she understands all too well. As a lawyer, Amanda thrives on logic and strategy, but the Newman empire is built on intimidation, secrets, and decades of carefully maintained dominance. Her decision to stand beside Kane may give him the structure he needs, but it could also paint a target on her back, dragging her into battles that stretch far beyond her professional obligations. The tension lies not only in the external conflict but in the personal undercurrents between Kane and Amanda. Their dynamic has always suggested an attraction simmering beneath the surface, and in moments of crisis, those sparks may ignite in ways that neither expects. Holden Novak's role also promises to grow more complicated. While Kane views him as the ultimate ally, history in Genoa City has taught us that even the most trusted confidants have their limits. Will Holden's loyalty hold firm under the pressure of Newman retaliation? Or will his own ambitions push him to test Kane's trust? The stakes of Arabesque's acquisitions suggest that Holden may find himself tempted by opportunities of his own, and if he falters, Kane's entire foundation could collapse. What emerges from these intertwined narratives is a picture of Genoa City on the brink of yet another seismic shift. Victor Newman's defense of his empire, Adam's willingness to sacrifice morality for paternal approval, Kane's desperate quest for relevance and power, Amanda's return as both savior and potential complication, and Holden's ambiguous loyalty. All of these threads weave together into a storyline ripe with betrayal, redemption, and high-stakes drama. Fans who have followed Y&R for decades will recognize the familiar echoes of past battles, the underdog taking on the titan, the shifting loyalties of family and allies, and the personal costs of ambition. Yet what makes this arc compelling is the freshness of the players involved, the new alliances forming, and the uncertainty of whether Kane Ashby has finally overreached in ways he cannot recover from. Ultimately, the young and the restless thrives on conflict, and the conflict now brewing between Kane Ashby and Victor Newman has the potential to redefine Genoa City's power structure for years to come. Amanda Sinclair's presence ensures that the legal and moral dimensions will be spotlighted, while Holden Novak's involvement grounds the story in the practical realities of empire building. The smear campaign from Newman Media raises the emotional stakes, ensuring that this is not just about boardrooms and acquisitions but about identity, reputation, and survival. For Kane, this may be the fight of his life, not just to seize control but to prove that he belongs in a city that has repeatedly cast him out. Whether he triumphs or falls, one thing is certain: Genoa City will never be the same. The firing that had taken place weeks earlier, back when Damian Kane was still alive, was not what it appeared to be on the surface. What many assumed to be routine corporate restructuring was, in truth, a calculated move designed to shift power and leave Holden Novak's position open for manipulation. In reality, Holden was never truly dismissed, his employment remained intact, carefully concealed beneath layers of misdirection. It was part of a larger scheme that shielded Kane Ashby's growing influence and allowed Holden to operate with relative anonymity while positioning himself as a crucial player in Kane's ongoing campaign. This arrangement created the illusion of vulnerability while secretly granting Kane one of the most dependable assets at his disposal. Over time, however, whispers began to circulate in Genoa City, and even the most carefully guarded secrets struggle to remain hidden for long in a town built on family intrigue and corporate espionage. Lily Winters, ever observant and unwilling to let go of the past she shared with Kane, has become increasingly aware of Holden's role in Kane's resurgence. Though she cannot yet pinpoint exactly what Holden is managing, she knows enough to realize that Kane has someone working closely behind the scenes, ensuring that every acquisition, every subtle maneuver tied to Arabesque, remains on track. The tension for Lily lies not just in the suspicion but in the unanswered question of Kane's true motives. Is this simply another ambitious gamble, Or is Kane willing to burn every bridge left to him in order to claw his way back into power? For Lily, who has endured the fallout of Kane's missteps too many times before, the possibility of betrayal lingers like a shadow she cannot escape. Amanda Sinclair, on the other hand, may hold far more clarity than she has chosen to reveal. Her perspective is unique, not only because of her proximity to Kane's current strategies but also because of her innate ability to discern hidden patterns where others see only chaos. Her return to Genoa City is already tied to her awareness that Kane's campaign requires more than brute force and acquisitions. It requires a defender who can anticipate the counterattacks of titans like Victor Newman and Adam Newman. Yet Amanda finds herself navigating a delicate path. To side openly with Kane is to put herself in direct opposition to the Newman dynasty, something that carries enormous personal and professional risk. But Amanda has never been one to shy away from a challenge, and her ability to analyze situations from every angle makes her indispensable. Her unique perspective lies not only in her legal acumen but in her recognition of the emotional undercurrents at play. She knows Kane is not just building an empire but battling ghosts of inadequacy, betrayal, and exile. Her position is complicated further by the lessons unfolding around her. Going against the will of powerful men often carries devastating consequences, something Adam Newman knows all too well. He had defied Victor when he chose not to broadcast the explosive details of the so-called Super Slam, a strategic reveal his father had demanded. Adam's hesitation was not rooted in disobedience for its own sake but in his recognition that timing and optics mattered. Yet defiance rarely sits well with Victor, and Adam was forced once again into the humiliating role of son caught between conscience and obligation. Amanda, observing this, sees a warning for herself. In Genoa City, loyalty is demanded, and independence comes at a steep cost. Her own choices will determine not only Kane's fate but her own standing in the unforgiving hierarchy of power. And yet, despite these challenges, Kane has chosen to forgive Amanda for one decision that might have undone him. When she unlocked the mobile signal inside Kane's sprawling estate, a move that allowed Nick Newman to call for urgent help, Kane could have interpreted it as betrayal. It was, after all, a breach of the controlled isolation he had engineered as part of his grand strategy. But instead of casting her aside, Kane acknowledged the moral clarity behind her choice. Nick had needed help, and Amanda had acted decisively. Rather than weakening their partnership, the moment served as a turning point, reaffirming the trust between them. Kane admitted, albeit reluctantly, that Amanda's instincts had been correct, and in doing so, he re-established the fragile connection that bound them together. For Amanda, the restoration of that connection signals more than just professional harmony. It reveals Kane's vulnerability, his willingness to admit that even he cannot predict every outcome, and his need for someone capable of challenging him when his ambitions blind him to human consequences. It also foreshadows the deeper entanglement of their relationship. In a world where alliances are often temporary and self-serving, the bond between Kane and Amanda is beginning to resemble something more enduring, a partnership built not only on necessity but on mutual recognition of strength. She brings foresight where he brings ambition, and together they form a dynamic that could threaten the dominance of even the most established Genoa City families. But questions remain, and the cracks in Kane's foundation are already visible. Lily's suspicion, Adam's resentment, Victor's looming vengeance, and the possibility that Holden's loyalty might not be as absolute as Kane believes all hang in the balance. Amanda's insight may shield Kane for now, but foresight alone cannot protect them from the wrath of families who have ruled Genoa City for decades. The choices they make in the coming days will determine whether Kane's campaign marks his long-awaited redemption or his final, irrevocable downfall. The intrigue swirling around Kane Ashby's return to Genoa City is not only about business, legacy, or revenge, it is also about relationships, trust, and the lingering emotions that no amount of time or distance can fully erase. As viewers watch the pieces of Kane's elaborate scheme fall into place, they cannot help but wonder whether his alliance with Amanda Sinclair will remain strictly professional or cross into something far more personal. The very possibility of romance between Kane and Amanda introduces a volatile new element into an already combustible storyline. Soap operas thrive on love triangles, and in this case, the triangle is as organic as it is inevitable. Kane, Amanda, and Lily Winters, three characters bound by shared history, betrayal, and the uncertain pull of unfinished business. Amanda Sinclair has already established herself as more than just legal counsel. Her unique perspective, her decisiveness, and her ability to challenge Kane's impulses have positioned her as the one person he can trust in a time when every other ally seems questionable. That kind of connection is fertile ground for something deeper. For Amanda, aligning with Kane is as much about proving herself as it is about supporting his vision. Yet in the process of defending him, of offering him loyalty when few others will, she runs the risk of becoming emotionally entangled. Kane, for his part, has always been susceptible to admiration, to the validation of someone who sees him as more than a disgraced outsider. Their dynamic crackles with tension, the kind that can easily blur the line between strategy and intimacy. But to explore Kane and Amanda as potential lovers is to open old wounds for Lily Winters. Lily's relationship with Kane has been defined by passion, betrayal, forgiveness, and heartbreak. She has loved him deeply, but she has also suffered profoundly because of him. Even after years apart, her feelings for him remain complicated. She cannot deny the pull of their shared past, nor can she forget the damage he caused. At this stage of the story, Lily's mistrust is palpable. She sees Kane's ambition, his secrecy, and his willingness to drag others into his schemes, and she fears history will repeat itself. Yet, beneath her caution lies a truth she cannot escape: she still loves him. That emotional contradiction is what makes the possibility of a love triangle so compelling. If Amanda begins to edge closer to Kane romantically, Lily will be forced to confront her own unresolved attachment to him. For Lily, however, the most important priority remains her children. Maddie and Charlie are no longer small, but they are still vulnerable to the consequences of their parents' choices. Lily has made it clear that their well-being comes before anything else. She and Kane, for all their disagreements, are aligned in this one respect: their children's health and stability are paramount. Yet Kane's recent actions complicate that stability. The revelation of his true identity, exposed earlier than he ever expected, has prevented him from explaining to his children what he has been doing during the 6 years he was away from Genoa City. He had intended to control the narrative, to carefully reveal his story on his own terms, but now that chance has been taken from him. Maddie and Charlie, inevitably, will hear whispers and half-truths from others before they hear it from their father. This failure to communicate could undermine the very relationship Kane hopes to repair. The possibility of a reunion between Kane and Lily is a tantalizing one, but it hinges on more than just nostalgia. For viewers, watching them reunite will only be satisfying if the storyline is constructed in a way that feels both believable and earned. Trust must be rebuilt gradually. Lily cannot simply forget the lies and manipulations that drove them apart. A remarriage might be the endgame, but for that to resonate, it must be preceded by a journey of accountability, growth, and emotional honesty. Kane will need to prove, not only to Lily but to himself, that he has changed. Until then, Lily's doubts will dominate, and her mistrust will cast a long shadow over every interaction. And yet, it is Amanda's involvement that has the power to accelerate or derail this process. By inserting Amanda into the equation, the writers create a dynamic where Lily is no longer simply evaluating Kane in isolation. Instead, she must watch another woman share moments of closeness with him, moments that may or may not turn romantic but are intimate nonetheless. That tension alone guarantees drama, because Lily's feelings are forced into the open. As much as she may want to convince herself that she has moved on, the sight of Kane bonding with Amanda will stir jealousy, anger, and maybe even renewed desire. For Kane, being caught between two women will test his loyalties and his ability to articulate what he truly wants: redemption with Lily, or a new beginning with Amanda. From a narrative standpoint, this triangle injects the storyline with fresh energy. It pulls Lily further into Kane's orbit, even as she tries to resist, while simultaneously giving Amanda a deeper role beyond legal strategist. For fans who followed Amanda's journey earlier in the series, her involvement in Kane's life now is a bold shift, one that promises to test her morality, her resilience, and her heart. It also raises questions about Kane's sincerity. Does he genuinely want Lily back, or is he too easily distracted by the allure of Amanda's steadfast support? The broader canvas of Genoa City amplifies these stakes. The Newman family remains entrenched in their campaign to crush Kane's ambitions. Adam continues to wrestle with his father's demands, and Victor's shadow looms large over every move. Against this backdrop, the personal conflicts of Kane, Amanda, and Lily take on added significance.